welcome everyone to yet another PTC Nordic Talks webinar, where we are happy today to have Henrik Byström from Downriver Management here as our next guest speaker. And Henrik is not only an ex-colleague of mine from Microsoft, but he's actually one of the leading experts in digitalization in the Nordics. And today he will give us some interesting hints about how to get business growth through digitalization. But first of all, a very quick introduction about myself. And my name is Torbjörn Peterson, and I'm the Alliance Manager for PTC in the Nordics. And we are running these webinars every week at the same time, where we invite customers and partners for some inspiration on hot topics in digital transformation to see what is possible and how to make things happen. And also all the past webinars have been recorded and are to be found on the registration site. The agenda for today is first a very quick overview of PTC by my colleague Carl from the customer success team. And then Henrik will start by introducing himself and then touch base on a few trends, challenges in digitalization, and how to address these, and then explain some of the business outcomes. At the end, we will also have a Q&A session, so keep your questions to the end. So over to you, Carl.
Yeah, thank you. Can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So PTC is an international software company from Boston. We are developing applications mainly for manufacturing companies since 1985. We offer tools for the digital transformation, such as CAD for design, PLM for managing your data, IoT for connecting your products and operation, and now augmented reality, which is the best way to visualize your digital thread. To you, Henrik.
Sure, thank you, and thank you for having me. It's a true pleasure to be here today. And for you that don't know me, my name is Henrik Byström, and I'm the founder of Downriver Management. I have almost 30 years in the business of digitalization, where I spent the last 14 years at Microsoft and the last years now as the business group lead for the biggest area called Modern Work and Security here in Sweden. And I'm also a member of the board in 2 companies, and I meet a lot of board members and leadership team and so. And when I have discussions with them, I can really see that digitalization is really top on the agenda. But I think there are a few things that we need to work with to really see how we can get this business growth through digitalization, because I see a gap there. And I think that employee engagement and business knowledge to combine that is the key to success. And this we will elaborate a little bit around in the coming minutes. So first of all, I would like to just quote Jeff Immelt, who was the former chairman and CEO at GE General Electric. He says that industrial companies are in the information business, whether they want to be or not. So everything we do nowadays is actually every company is becoming a digital company in some way. If you look into our cars, they are even like computers on wheels. Even if you don't have an electric car, they are still very, very digitalized. If you go out in a factory floor, you can see that how many digital components are there, and how we work with the predictive maintenance and so forth, and bring in AI and things to make a smart facility there. And we can look into the healthcare, how this is very, very digitalized and important to get the data and insights to be able to handle better services. If you are in retail, the only thing they talk about is online and omni-channel, and how we can meet customers in new ways and so forth. So when I talk about digitalization, I want to I have seen a lot of challenges there, and that is when leaders and board members and so forth, they see that it's very important, but they find it hard to find the right way through this jungle of opportunities. And where should we start, and what should we do? And it might be that we then take the easy path and just add new technology features, and we do lift and shifts to for example, move our service to the cloud, or we deploy teams, or we buy new hardware, or that the way that we have done it for so many years. But what we want to do is create a digital culture, so we can get those new winning solutions and generate those. But if we start collecting winning solutions, I see that we have challenges in managing that and link that to the company's goals and visions and so forth. But the good thing here is that Gartner states that from the role of the CIO, that they now have the attention from the CEO and the board members. They see that this is super important. So now we have a great opportunity to really do what we have talked about for so many years, to get digitalizations to be part of the business development and the true business, because digitalization and business are one. So what I do when I explain what digitalization is to business leaders, I split it up in a few things. First of all, I talk about the customer interactions. That is how new ways of meeting the customer. That could be, for example, enterprise marketing. That could be online stores and online business. That could be how we segment and prioritize customers, how we can see what customers are most beneficial, and so forth. And new ways of managing and interacting with the customer from a customer standpoint. The second part is that look into collaboration, internal and external collaboration, how we share information, how we work together, how we have the networking inside, share ideas and build on each other's strengths and so forth. And how we get this collective insight from both the internal organization, but today we also see that we build on other strengths. So we work with external partners, and customers are very close to us in us inviting us to build on their solutions and so forth. Then we have the processes. That could be what we first think of might think of as processes like logistics or financial processes or procurement or that kind of business system, line of business system that we have. But it is also how we collect the data and insights, like the IoT, Internet of Things, and all the sensors that we are connecting, and collect all that data and get insights out of that in terms of reports and BI and so forth, and how we can use that collective insights from all those data points out there. And when we do all these three things, we start get so much insight, and so we can also see that now we can actually create business development. We find those new ideas or maybe a new business area that will change the way we work, or maybe start a completely new business area within our company. But everything we do now with digitalization also adds an uncertainty. The more we connect and opens up, the more vulnerable we will be. So we need to really think of security as the platform here to connect everything in a trustful way. And in security, I also add compliance. So we work in a compliant way and help people work in a compliant way. So this could be a way of articulating when we talk of what is digitalization, where should we start, and so forth. Then we have a maturity ladder, if you could say. Many organizations are on a quite basic level here. IT investments are still quite ad hoc. IT is still very isolated from the business. It might be that we have reached a more developed stage where we are conscious about this, and we might have centralized IT, start working in a more strategic way, but we still don't have the broad employee engagement and from leaders and employees overall. So what we want to achieve here is to get this integrated way where the business and IT are connected together. We have a well-integrated IT development into the business development, and people and the employees are highly engaged. They bring in new ideas. They tell us what they need to articulate how they can accelerate the business growth. And then we must have a clear process of how we drive innovation and collect those ideas and connect to digitalization. And this I will talk a little bit more about. One way to accelerate this is to build on other strengths. So we could invest here to success. The big tech companies invest almost like 15 to 17, 20% of their revenue, representing almost $20 to $40 billion a year. And they have done so for decades. So one way could be to go to the board of directors and say, hey, we want 15% of the revenue and invest that. Not all companies can do that because that is more than they have in margin. So what we then can do is to build on these strengths that comes from these big tech companies. And there is an analysis from Harvard Business Review that is quite interesting to see that firms that took the external platform route, that is being inverted companies, building on others' strength and focusing in the other way on their customers, they had an average of 38% over 16 years growth. Digital transformation of this type, to build on the cloud companies, for example, or the big tech companies, is one of these aspects. On the other hand, I think Steve Jobs has put in a very good quote. He said that innovation has nothing to do with how many research and development dollars you have. It's not about the money. It's about the people you have and how they are led and how much you get it. I think we might have a combination here. So what I've seen through my years is that we tend to invest in new technologies, so different types of technology, individual productivity, that could be IoT, that could be social abilities, that could be different kinds of system, whatever. And then we have this technical project that we deploy. And we might think that IT projects are challenging and they might run over time and they cost a lot of money, but that is not a big problem here. Because what we want to see then is to have a high usage of these services. But to do that, we need to do something extra. We need to also connect this to a change way of working in parallel. So what I recommend is that when we start these IT and technological projects, we also need to start a project focusing on the changed ways of working and how we land this, how we adopt this into the employees so they get these new tools and technologies and change their ways of working. So what we can do, and the model that I have in mind when I meet customers, is that what we want to see is business result. This is what the leadership team and the board of directors and the owners are looking into. And we get that through accelerating the culture, working with the organization's potential. We can measure here the business performance index to get out the information on where are we cultural-wise in terms of organization, team, individual. Are we having a winning culture? Do we have people actually driving their ideas and know why they are going to work from a business, from the company standpoint? Focusing on the right challenging them to get out of the comfort zone and so forth. And the same thing we could do from a digitalization standpoint to measure the digital performance index and see what are the maturity level here. Where are we? What do people think about the digitalization? Are they inspired or not? What are the most used technologies? What are the missing technologies and so forth? And we can connect that to the goals and the vision and the business strategic plan from the leaders. And examples we need to prioritize here. And then we can go back to one of the first slides I show where we can see, okay, so we have focus on sales, for example. If we do so, sales can be the driver for organic growth, for example. What we will then do is that we now have the vision of the strategic direction from the board. And this is the model I have written up for how we get this winning digital culture. We look into the strategic directions from the board. We do the prioritization, and let's say it's sales, for example, then of course customer interaction is the focus area for us. We bring that into a system of innovation. And what we have here is that we train the team into having a winning culture. That we do from actually measuring where they stand today and what are the areas we need to improve into. On the other hand, we train the team in business development digitalization. What is digitalization? What solutions are out there? If we look into what others have done, what could we do? So we train the team into thinking and seeing what could we do if we have technology. And this we could also measure into a digital performance index. We put that into workshops where we bring in the team of the most important ambassadors. That could be, if we focus on sales, for example, it could be the sellers, marketeers, people working with customer success, delivering solutions to the customers. So we get the insights from the customers into these workshops. Add knowledge of technology, IT people, digitalization people, and it can also be external expertise that we add into this work around, for example, digitalization or sales or whatever. From that, we get these ideas of winning pilots. Let's say we have 5 pilots that we want to run, small pilots that we try out with low investments. And we could see that 3 of these are actually flying and will be very good. 2 of them we will cancel, but we will continue with these 3 ideas and build that into winning solutions. Okay, so we can say that this might not be rocket science to you. So why is this not happening today? First of all, we can see that not always do we have a very clear and anchored position around the strategic direction from the company. Not everyone in the company knows what are the top top strategic issues that we want to focus on? What are the priorities? Where are the big concerns? Where should we focus on? Secondly, we don't have this baseline of knowing where do we stand in terms of a digital maturity or in terms of the culture. Third, we need to have the employee engagement. Not everyone in the company are focused on how they contribute to the overall target, and not always are we actually taking their insights and knowledge and coach and challenge them to be part of this winning system. And fourth, we might not have knowledge or internal resources to actually focus on this forward-looking digitalization because we are very busy in doing what we do in the everyday work. So that is sort of the whole system that I want to encourage you to look into, and also a couple of few challenges. The cool thing here is I read a study from PTC that is recently launched, and you have the link below there, where they confirmed that this theory is actually very good. To have the ability to innovate in the business is crucial, and the adoption of digital technology across physical product lifecycle is strategy being used for forward-thinking companies, this report states. But we can also see that the digital strategies that companies are developing today will impact their ability to compete over the next decade. We cannot focus on just doing lift and shift. We must find these transformative winning solutions. And what we also see in this study is that near half of the technology, the digitalization project that we run, nearly half of them is not a success and don't show a positive ROI. So we need to do something differently here. And the report's conclusion is that technology's role to facilitate information and collaboration is important. Executive leadership, we talked about that recently here, about the responsibility to redefine and to actually articulate what is the most important things to focus on. And of course, the cultural aspects to get the winning teams and have a mix of the top-down and the bottom-up initiatives. We need to learn from the people that are closest to the business. So to summarize, what we do is that based on companies' business objectives, we connect the strategic business development with employee engagement. I think that is super important, and in a combination with digital technology. And we can do that by measuring the maturity levels and into this winning system. So to just challenge you a bit and see if there are new opportunities for you. So I encourage you to download this report and read it. It's very interesting. And you could also think of how could you align even more your digital investments and the initiatives you run with the strategic directors. Do you have the knowledge of what the challenges are and how your digital investments are really aligned into this? And of course, if you want more inspiration, feel free to reach out to me on the LinkedIn, and I will post some more posts and thoughts there, of course. And with that, I would like to say thank you and just send you out with another quote that one thing we really know for certainty, if that we do same thing tomorrow as we do today, then we will, of course, achieve the same results. So with that, I would like to say thank you and see if there are any questions.
Thanks a lot, Henrik, for sharing all your insights. So as I said, over to you and the audience, to ask any questions you might have to Henrik. So please go ahead. Would like to go first? Otherwise, I could get started. The question is, how aware do you think companies or organizations normally are about their own maturity level in digitalization, Henrik, based on your experience?
I think you might be aware, but I think you might not have documented it, and I think you might not have put yourself in what should you say, this high-level perspective to zoom out and see where are our challenges and what are we really doing and why are we doing that. To take that time on analyzing what you're actually doing, right? So being the fly on the wall, looking at what you're doing. I think we tend to do a lot of things and have a lot of meetings and priorities and strategies, but sometimes we need to really reflect also. And that I'm not sure that we really do. And and we haven't maybe documented how well why we are doing things and how that are aligned to the business targets. So we know that we should do all these fantastic projects, and we do that, but we don't articulate why is this important, and how do we contribute to the business growth.
Thanks. Anyone else?
Yeah, hello. You spoke about bringing some advantages to the board members. What advantages you feel that we should bring to the board members when you're talking about digitization? Because there is a confusion in that or not confusion as it, but there is no clear path that where should they start and how they start.
Yeah. Well, we can go back to. So what we do is that, first of all, board members are very engaged, and they think this is super interesting with digitalization. But many of the board members don't actually know how to ask questions. What should they know, and why is this important? Any of us could go up and just say something, and they would say, "Oh yeah, this is probably interesting." I think we need to be very clear here. Talk about those winning solutions that will make a difference, because then we do a lot of things in the everyday work. We still need to move the service to the cloud or whatever, roll out Teams or whatever it is. But those winning solutions, and align that into the strategy, so that the board members can understand that we are really trying to find a new digital culture within this company. We must also bear in mind that the board meets like maybe 4 to 8 times a year, and they have a lot of things on their agenda. They should talk about the financials, of course, employee satisfaction, customer satisfaction, sustainability, and a lot of things. So digitalization is only one part of that they will talk about. So we need to help them understand that we are right on track here, but also they are the one funding the investments that we want to do out of the extra, if you say. So helping them to articulate what the process we are working with, how that drives winning solution, and how those solutions are aligned to the strategic directions that they are talking about and focusing on in their strategic plans.
Henrik, hi, this is Roland here from Cognizant. Very interesting, very interesting talk today. I'm trying to formulate the question, because you have sort of touched on a lot of things that I have felt when I meet with clients, that a lot of clients, they understand why they need to do things.
Yeah.
They may understand the how, but the how is sort of the difficult question. And then, of course, with the how, that also comes a lot of money, because they need to invest in sort of, they need to have some computer somewhere that do things. Can you see that the company structures of today is not really set up to handle these types of questions, that the why people and the how people are not really aligned? So they're not, maybe they're meeting at the board level, but the board level, like you said, they have so many things on their plate that they can't really decide on this.
Yeah.
Because I feel that when I speak with clients, everybody say we have to do this, but nothing is really happening.
No, and I think one way is also to sort out who you're talking to here. The board is focusing on the perspective of 3 to 5 years ahead in the strategic plan. They want to see that the company is actually leading there. They are the owners' representatives. So they should actually bring value to the owners. That is the board's task, if you say. And they are looking into the long-term perspective. So here we need to help them address how digitalization and the process, the way we are working on digitalization, is leveraging long-term value. Then they let the leadership team to actually operate in the daily life, and they have maybe 1 year focus, but should align the work they do in this 1 year to the 3-year strategy. So they should respond to the board regarding the how they, in the everyday work they do, align to the 3-year, 5-year strategy. So the leadership team is focusing more on the operations of today, but should also drive activities in the long way perspective. So the moving servers and deploying teams and so forth, that might be the project that we do today, and that for that we need to have investments this year. but running the long run, the way we change our business, that is a 3 to 5 year perspective, and need to have another articulation and another ROI model, if you say. And for that, the board can actually give us the money, because they can see that this investments, if we add that will help us even faster to reach the long-term goal. But the leadership team has a 1 year budget. So they need to be very focused on what are we doing today, what are the results, do we deliver the revenue, do we deliver the results in this year. So that's why we sort of tend to shift in the why and the how, and sort of, if that is an answer to.
Yes. I mean, you're saying a lot of very, very wise words here. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Good question. I think we have another question also here from Barney. Would you like to speak out, or?
Sure. Hi everyone.
Hello.
My question was related to your previous model for winning a couple of slides back. Just in terms of train the team in business development, digitalization.
Yeah.
Well, what would that training consist of as such, or where would one start looking into that area for training, and what level are you speaking of?
Yeah, so this is where we need to actually be a bit prioritized. So we, from measuring the digital performance, we can actually see how are the organization today looking into the IT. What do they need? What are the biggest challenges they see? But we also should focus that on this strategic direction. So let's say we are focusing on customer interaction. Then we should get them inspired around what does that mean really? How do we connect with customers? How do we get more customers? How can we accelerate growth for the existing customers? How do we get less churn, and so forth? And for that, we can then focus on what kind of solutions and ideas and reference cases and technology are there. And we can get an inspiration from them and start to get them to think of, but then to see things out in their everyday life. And then they can start asking questions. So you mean that if there are technology for me to be able to do this in another way, and we can showcase that. Because today you can do anything with technology. That is not the limitation here, but the limitation is to get to focus on the right things and to help people understand that technology can do so much more than they think. So what we should do is focus on a few areas here and help them with examples and coach them and so forth, if you understand.
Yeah, I understand. So it's kind of applied to the 4 segments shown on the left individually. So you prioritize one segment. And
yeah, I think because we should focus on, and that is aligned to the strategic directions, because we could do so many things, and then people only get confused, right? So, but what we want to achieve here is to get people inspired around what technology can do. So they don't feel fear, they don't feel uncertainty, but they feel engagement and curiosity instead. Because then they can, we have digitalization experts in the organization, and there are a lot of them externally, of course, as well. But what we want to do here is that we want them to be curious and look into and find solutions and ask for help and so forth. But then we need to inspire them, because they don't know what they can do today. There are so many cool things out there, but they don't know it. And we need them maybe.
Gotcha. And on the left, would that be prioritized as you would recommend, or is that dependent on the business? Customer interaction first, collaboration second, process.
No, it was just an example. So for having one of these customers I'm working with now, we are focusing on the processes, because at that company it was clear that internal processes and finding information is most important for them. But this could be that is aligned to their business needs. So another company could have customer interaction, another could be that we need to work on the knowledge sharing internally and externally, and then it's a collaboration part and so forth. So it could be different. It's just an example.
Gotcha. Thanks so much.
Henrik,
Henrik, I was going to ask you about processes because for me, customer interaction is also processes and collaboration is processes and so on. So I always start out with thinking about their as-is state when it comes to processes and where to go when it comes to processes.
Yes.
Why do you have processes on the third level down there? Because you said it was internal when you just mentioned it, internal processes. But I just wonder how you think and talk about processes.
Now, it's more like, for me, a way of sorting things out. So customer interactions is for me very external, so you can say. But of course, I mean, working, for example, a CRM system would fit into the customer interaction. And that is, of course, also a process with working with the internal processes on and so forth. But for me, processes is more of the line of business system like billing, logistics, procurement, and that kind of things. But it also, for me, all the things of Internet of Things, connecting things, getting BI and data insights and reports, and that is processes for me. It's just a way of me sorting this out to be able to articulate it. But of course, you can cut this in a different way if you want. It's just a pedagogic model for me.
Yeah, because I'm thinking about if you don't can control and make your processes become better and more customer interactions and so on, then you're not working in the right way when it comes to processes.
No, of course, and that is, I agree with you. And then you need to look into the gap where you want to be and where you are and so forth. And that is a way how we implement it later on. And that could, I mean, that can also be. That is one way of looking on it. What I usually do is I connect from the external drivers and move into, okay, so what kind of business transformation do we need and what kind of IT transformation do we need, and then we land in some kind of technology solutions.
Yeah.
So, but that is a way of how we do it in when we implement these. So absolutely. What we want to achieve here is that we want to achieve that the whole organization as an all start thinking of how they can collaborate to drive new innovative solutions and how we add digital components into that, because I think that is the winning way of moving forward.
We have another question also, I mean, from the audience in the chat. I'm not sure if you want to speak out, M. Chong there. I'd like to do that. You had a question regarding what is the understanding, what is the definition about an enterprise digital? Maybe you could answer that, Henrik.
Yeah, for me, when we, if I understand the question correctly, we can go back actually to this one. For me, when I see that the company has succeeded is when we reach this integrated level where we actually, when the company as an whole company, all employees, independently of if you work in sales or in marketing or at the stores or in the storage or in the factory or wherever you work, you are engaged in finding new solutions, and you bring the digitalization perspective with you. You might not be the digitalization expert, but you know that digitalization can help you, and you will ask for help, and you are curious on this. And we connect this into actually be part of our business development. It's not separated. It's just one way of working with it. Like the way we build factories. That is another tool we have. Or how we build the organization. That is another tool we have. But digitalization must be also here very, very tightly aligned. And that, to me, when we have this integrated model, very few are there, if any. But I think that is when you really, that is what you can see also if you compare yourself with a startup, for example. They start with this already from start, and then they grow, of course, like all companies. But so that is, for me, that is.
And this is Mark Jong speaking. I just was in a very noisy environment, so that's why I couldn't speak up.
Right.
The question I have is a little bit different than the one you answered. What I observe is that within a company, people talk and use the word digital, but for some people, digital means introducing Salesforce. For other people, digital has a different definition. So what I have in mind is, do you have a digital definition where everybody in your company understands what they talk about when they use the word digital?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that is exactly my point. To implement Salesforce or any kind of system, what you do, Teams or whatever, that is just adding a technical component. And that is what we, let's see, we have this slide over here. That is what I mean with the lower layer here. We just put in a new technology, and then we hope for the best, that everything will work out. And hey, hope everyone knows how to work with Salesforce now and use it. And to me, that is not digitalization. That is adding technology. To me, digitalization is when we actually transform the business and we change the way of working, and we really start working in a new way using this new technology. And we also understand, why did we buy Salesforce or Teams or whatever from the first place? That was because we wanted to achieve this business goal, the strategic goal that we have aligned. And that is, to me, digitalization. Otherwise, we add on technology.
But the challenge I see, Henrik, is that is your definition and you have a clear picture of it. But if you go through an entire enterprise, and we're 18,000 employees, everybody talks about the word digital, but there's no company definition. That means you know what it is, but somebody else thinks it's Salesforce implementation. Another person says, oh, we automate the lights now. So I think that what I would like to provide to my company is a very strong definition that everybody says, if we use the word digital, if we read or hear the word digital, this is what it means within our company. Can you help out with that one?
Yeah, so that is why I focus on this piece here, because that is why I think that the right side here, getting train the team in the winning culture, is so super important. Because to me, we can call it a lot of things, but what we want to change here is the culture. We want to change the culture so everyone thinks the digital tools to help them do their work in a better way. So that is why I think that is, and then if you for example deploy SAP, that is a massive work, right? But and that you need to do in these big companies, of course. But what we want to see here is to find these winning solutions that will create something different, to get this innovative culture. The other ones is, for me, building the infrastructure that we also need to focus on, of course, and how we use that. For example, how we use the newly implemented SAP in new ways. That could also be digitalization by training the winning culture. But so we need to align these, I think.
Good answer.
What I'm after is creating the winning culture here.
Exactly. Good point. Guys, time is unfortunately already running out. So many thanks everyone for joining. I like the discussions and all the good questions here. And thanks to you, Henrik. But stay also tuned for the next Nordic Talks already next week with Bosch for a special session on the business value of digital twins. So with that, I wish you all a fantastic weekend, but also, stay here if you have still some questions on the chat for Henrik. I know that he will be available for a few more minutes, so hope you are able to answer some questions here, Henrik. So with that, take care, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.